I remember the exact moment it hit me. I was 79 years old, sitting on my porch swing, rubbing my achy knees yet again, and thinking, is this it? Is this how the rest of my life is going to feel? It was a stifling afternoon, the kind of day when the sun feels relentless on your skin, but my bones were cold and stiff. Even the slightest movement took real effort. For a man who's always prided himself on staying active, hiking mountains in my 50s, dancing at family weddings in my 60s, this creeping sense of immobility felt like a slow surrender. Not long before that day, a dear friend of mine had started taking vitamin D3 with K2. He was 82, but you'd never guess it. He was moving with more freedom, even more energy than me at 79. When I asked him what changed, he just laughed and said, "You might call it my sunshine in a bottle." I shrugged it off at first. I'd heard about vitamin D. Who hasn't? It's practically on every doctor's list of recommended supplements. But what I hadn't heard much about was vitamin K2 and how crucial that partner can be. Turns out so many seniors are lacking the missing puzzle piece that makes vitamin D truly effective. In fact, not taking K2 alongside vitamin D might be like trying to unlock a door with only half a key. It simply won't open. That realization stung. Could it really be that I, who'd always stayed informed about nutrition, missed something this important? And if I did, how many other people our age are missing it too? The more I dug into the research, the clearer it became. Taking D3 with K2 can be a game changer for bones, heart health, immunity, and even overall vitality. It was shocking, and honestly, it made me feel a twinge of urgency, because at our age, every day matters. Waiting another few months or years to make a change could mean losing out on the freedom to walk unassisted, the joy of playing with grandkids without wincing, or even the confidence to maintain our independence. No one wants to live in fear of a simple slip or a minor fall turning into a life-altering event. Today, I'm going to share with you the 6 critical benefits that finally convinced me to start taking vitamin D3 with K2, and why I'm convinced it might just be the missing link in your journey toward feeling stronger, steadier, and more alive in your golden years. I've spent decades observing seniors who thrive well into their 90s, and a pattern always emerges. They learn to adapt and find the overlooked strategies that keep their minds and bodies resilient. If you stick around until the end, I'll even touch on a small detail most people skip. Something that can make all the difference in how your body absorbs these nutrients. Because once you understand how these vitamins work together, you'll be able to envision a future with fewer aches, stronger bones, and a renewed sense of possibility, no matter your current age. Before we dive in, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. This way, you'll never miss any of the tips that I and other folks determined to thrive have gathered over the years. And if something in this message resonates with you, leave a quick comment below and let me know. Your story matters, and it's often the simplest act, like sharing a thought, that can inspire another person. After all, our later years can be the most rewarding chapter of life, as long as we keep learning and keep sharing what we've learned with others. Now let's take a closer look at these 6 key benefits and discover how you too might find that sunshine in a bottle. This is about more than just vitamins. It's about hope, opportunity, and ensuring your best years are still ahead. I want to start by telling you the first critical benefit that made me realize something needed to change. The first thing I discovered is that vitamin D3 and K2 together can lead to the kind of bone strength most seniors think is impossible past a certain age. You've probably heard someone say, "Oh, it's normal for bones to just break down when you get older," right? Well, I'm here to say that doesn't have to be your story. Let me be bold. It's a misconception that once your bones start losing density in your 60s and 70s, you're doomed to weakness. I believed that myth myself until I saw what happened with my old neighbor, Rita. She's 85, and for years she struggled with brittle bones so severe that a simple bump against the kitchen counter could leave her bruised and limping. Her kids were terrified she'd fall and break a hip. One day, her doctor recommended she ramp up her vitamin D intake, but then an integrative health specialist added, "Don't forget K2, or your bones won't get the real benefit." Rita was skeptical at first, but eventually decided she had nothing to lose. Within a few months, she was noticing changes. No, she didn't turn into a superhuman overnight, but that gnawing ache in her hips started to lessen. She stood straighter, felt more balanced, and even found a spark of confidence returning. Here's the surprising truth. Vitamin D3 helps your body absorb calcium, but vitamin K2 directs that calcium to the right places, your bones. Without K2, some of that precious calcium could end up in your arteries, which is the last place you want it. Picture it like this. D3 is the person who opens the door to let calcium in, but K2 is the guide who shows calcium where to go once it's inside. If you lack that guide, you might end up with a house full of uninvited guests hanging around places they shouldn't. That's why the most important step you can take is to make sure you get a combination supplement or pair them properly under the guidance of a knowledgeable professional. One actionable tip: if you're already taking vitamin D, check the label to see if K2 is included. If not, consider adding a separate K2 supplement or looking for a combination product specifically marked D3 plus K2. This single move could help reduce the risk of those tiny cracks or fractures that sneak up on us as we age. Think of the emotional benefit here. With stronger bones, you can keep doing the small things that bring joy, like gardening, dancing to an old favorite tune, or simply climbing the stairs without wincing. You get the freedom to move around with less fear that you're one misstep away from a devastating injury. That kind of freedom is priceless. We often underestimate how real independence is tied to bone strength. Believe me, once you realize you can stand up from your favorite armchair without that shaky feeling, your sense of possibility skyrockets. Now let's move on to the second critical benefit. This second point changed the way I think about calcium altogether. Let's start with a jarring claim. Many seniors blindly take calcium supplements without realizing they could be setting themselves up for trouble. Here's the misconception. I just need more calcium, period. The real truth is that loading up on calcium alone doesn't guarantee it'll go where it's needed. If your system doesn't have the right nutritional traffic cops, which in this case is a combination of D3 and K2, you might be left with calcium deposits in the wrong places. There's a gentleman in my social circle, Albert, 77 years old, who prided himself on following every health fad. He was the first to jump on the extra calcium bandwagon, but ironically, he still experienced frequent cramps and even a suspicious tightness in his chest. When he finally visited a cardiologist, the test results showed early signs of calcium buildup in his arteries. That was a real wake-up call. Once he introduced D3 and K2 into his regimen, the improvement was remarkable. His discomfort started easing, and he felt more confident getting back to activities like golf and a morning stroll with his wife. The reason? K2 helps shuttle calcium away from your arteries, ensuring they stay flexible instead of hardening. For a practical step, consider spacing out your calcium-rich foods or supplements throughout the day with adequate D3 plus K2. If you take all your calcium in one huge dose, your body might struggle to handle it properly. Also, it's best to get at least a little healthy fat in the same meal, as vitamin D is fat-soluble. Imagine the difference. Instead of dreading your next test result, you can look forward to it, knowing you're fueling your body in a smarter, more strategic way. Emotionally, this is about reassurance. It's about relieving that underlying worry. Are my supplements actually helping, or am I doing more harm than good? When you take D3 and K2 alongside your calcium, you get peace of mind. You feel like you have a safety net, knowing each nutrient is doing its job properly. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment 2 down below so I know you've made it here with me. Your feedback matters and keeps this conversation alive. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. This channel is dedicated to sharing everything I've learned on my path to healthy aging, and your support helps spread the word. Now let's explore the third critical benefit, which might just surprise you even more. This next one might sound controversial. Improving heart health can be simpler than you think. Most of us grew up hearing that preventing heart issues is all about avoiding too much cholesterol, too much fat, too much this, too much that. But guess what? Keeping your arteries clear and your heart strong can also be about using the right combo of nutrients to help your body handle calcium correctly. The common misconception is that heart disease is all about genetics or cholesterol alone. Let me challenge that. While genetics play a role, the latest findings suggest that calcification in arteries is a major culprit of heart complications, especially in older adults. And that's precisely why K2 stands out. It can help direct calcium out of your arteries, potentially reducing plaque formation. I recall a dear friend, Darlene, 80 years old, who endured a mild heart attack. It shook her whole family. In her recovery phase, her medical team gave her the usual advice: balanced diet, mild exercise, certain medications. But Darlene also took the initiative to talk with a nutrition-focused clinician who recommended D3 plus K2. At first, it sounded way too simple. Could vitamins help her heart that much? Yet a year into consistently taking them, along with her prescribed treatments, she felt more stable, more energized. On her follow-up test, her doctor noted improvements in arterial flexibility, describing it as better than expected for her age. Now, of course, this isn't a miracle cure, but it's a big piece of the puzzle that many seniors overlook. Here's a simple habit to try. Incorporate foods like fermented vegetables or certain cheeses that contain natural vitamin K2 into your diet while also spending a few minutes in the sunlight each day for vitamin D. Just 10 to 15 minutes of gentle morning sun can make a difference in your D levels, though you should still consider a supplement, especially if you live in a place with limited sunshine or spend most of your time indoors. This synergy helps your arteries stay clear, your heart pumping, and your entire circulatory system feeling less burdened. The emotional benefit is relief from that shadowy fear that your heart might give out at any moment. It's about having one more protective layer, one more tool in your toolbox, so you don't have to live under the constant worry of a sudden cardiac event. You may not be able to see your arteries clearing day by day, but you can certainly feel the vitality that comes with a healthier heart. We're now heading to the fourth point, and it's one of my personal favorites because it touches on something that affects our quality of life every single day. It's commonly believed that past a certain age, you just have to put up with getting sick more often. The bold statement is, your immune system can stay robust well into your later years if you give it the right support. The misconception? That your immune decline is inevitable and unstoppable. The truth is more empowering. D3 is known to play a pivotal role in immune function, and K2 supports that process by assisting in the overall absorption and distribution of nutrients. For instance, consider Harold, who's 76. He used to catch every cold and flu that circled his retirement community. In the span of one terrible winter, he had pneumonia twice. That experience left him drained, fearful of stepping outdoors. After a serious hospital stay, he resolved to find a better way to support his health. When a nurse suggested that he check his vitamin D levels, he discovered they were shockingly low. Once he began taking a D3 plus K2 supplement, along with other immune-friendly habits like regular hand washing and mild exercise, he noticed something unusual. That next winter, he didn't end up bedridden. In fact, he sailed through the season with just a mild sniffle. The difference wasn't a fluke. It was about getting his immune system the tools it needed. A practical tip: if you're worried about your immune health, ask your doctor to test your vitamin D levels. It's a straightforward blood test. Low levels often correlate with higher susceptibility to illness. If you find you're low, introducing a quality D3 plus K2 supplement can be transformative. Some folks also like to pair vitamin D3 plus K2 with magnesium, which further aids absorption. From a feeling standpoint, this is about reclaiming your sense of safety. There's a huge emotional boost in knowing you can greet a change in the weather or a wave of colds without that nagging dread. I'm definitely going to catch this. If you're still with me after these 4 points and finding value here, please comment 4 down below. It's a small gesture, but it really helps me understand what resonates with you. And if you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Our community is growing, and I'd love you to be a part of it. Let's continue to our 5th critical benefit, which focuses on the comfort and support for your muscles, a benefit I've personally experienced in a big way. When it comes to maintaining muscle function and reducing aches, Many seniors think it's all about exercise, exercise, exercise. Of course, physical activity is crucial, but here's the twist. Without the right nutritional foundation, exercise can become a frustrating cycle of strain, slow recovery, and disappointment. The misconception is, as long as I'm active, I won't lose muscle. But the truth is, even the best exercise routine can falter if your body is low on D3 and K2. These vitamins help with muscle contraction and relaxation, and can even influence how effectively your muscles repair themselves after slight tears or injuries. A vivid story that comes to mind is Joanna, 74, who adored her weekly Zumba class. She loved the music, the laughter with her friends, and the freedom she felt while dancing. But she started noticing that after class, her legs would be sore for days, and sometimes her arms felt like dead weight. She assumed it was just a part of getting older, until she learned she was severely vitamin D deficient. After about 2 months of adding a D3 plus K2 supplement, she felt a subtle shift. Her recovery improved, and the sharp aches she used to dread after class softened into a manageable soreness that went away much faster. If you want a practical step, here's a small routine I recommend. Try a 5-minute warm-up in the morning where you gently stretch your arms overhead and do a few slow marches in place. Right after that, take your D3 plus K2 supplement with a light breakfast that includes a bit of healthy fat, like avocado or olive oil. Over time, watch how your muscles respond. You might notice quicker recovery and less of that stiff as a board feeling when you first wake up. On an emotional level, this means regaining confidence to move freely, whether it's participating in a Tai Chi class or just strolling with a friend around the block. It's about living with fewer groans and moans. The joy of movement is something many of us took for granted in our younger years, but with the right nutritional approach, you can rediscover that joy in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Now on to the sixth and final point, which often doesn't get enough attention, but can profoundly shape your day-to-day happiness. This final benefit may surprise you. Boosting mood and mental clarity is not just about staying positive or keeping busy. The misconception is that brain health is all in your head, purely psychological. But the truth is, your brain is an organ that needs nutrients just like any other part of your body. Vitamin D3 has been associated with mood regulation, and K2 supports proper distribution of calcium and other nutrients in the brain, which can influence everything from cognitive function to emotional balance. I recall meeting a wonderful woman named Eleanor, 83, who described her mental fog as trying to see through a clouded window. She'd forget small things, lose track of conversations, and fall into bouts of sadness over it. After she bumped into a holistic practitioner at a local senior fair, she was introduced to the idea that her persistent low energy and mild depression could be linked to vitamin deficiencies. Sure enough, her vitamin D levels were in the basement. Within a few months of consistent D3 plus K2 use, alongside other healthy changes like more natural light exposure, she noticed a gentle lifting of that fog. Her memory sharpened, and she felt a bit brighter, more enthusiastic about reading, knitting, and chatting with her neighbors. A tangible strategy is to create what I call a morning sunshine routine. Spend the first 10 minutes of your day by a window or outside if weather permits, letting natural light hit your eyes. Then take your D3 plus K2 supplement with a glass of water. Couple that with a simple breathing exercise, slow, deep breaths, and try to hold one uplifting thought in your mind, like gratitude or anticipation for a pleasant event. This routine not only supports brain chemistry, but also frames your day with a sense of calm and optimism. Emotionally, this is about reclaiming your mental spark. Many seniors fear becoming forgetful or losing the zest for life they once had. But it doesn't have to be a downhill slide. With the right nutrients, you might find yourself looking forward to new hobbies, better social connections, and a renewed enthusiasm for life. If you've stuck with me through all 6 benefits, thank you. Leave a comment 6 below if you found these insights valuable. And if you haven't subscribed, now's a great time to do so. You never know which piece of wisdom or tip could make the biggest difference in your life. Let's take a moment to pull all these threads together. We've explored how vitamin D3 with K2 can strengthen bones, help calcium find its proper home, protect your heart, fortify your immune system, support muscle function, and even boost your mood and clarity of mind. Imagine how life changes when those elements line up in your favor. Everyday tasks like climbing stairs, reaching for that book on a high shelf, or even getting out of bed no longer feel like small battles. You can worry less about fractures or sudden pains derailing your plans. You can experience more stable energy levels that free you to focus on hobbies or precious time with loved ones. The urgency here is real. Every day you wait is another day your body might not be getting the nutrients it needs. Think about how different life could be 6 months from now if you started supporting your body with D3 plus K2 today. Picture yourself greeting each morning with fewer aches, more mental clarity, and that intangible spark of hope that says, I've still got plenty of living left to do. Because you do. Try this thought experiment. Envision yourself 6 months from now, standing in front of a mirror, noticing that you're standing a bit straighter, that your knees aren't as wobbly, and that you're actually smiling at your reflection. What might you be planning to do that day? Perhaps a trip with friends, a longer walk with your grandchild, or simply going about your errands without that uneasy feeling that you're fighting your own body. It's entirely possible if you make these small, consistent changes now. If you found a point or two that really resonated with you, maybe it was the part about heart health or the story about regaining muscle strength, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. It could be the nudge someone else needs to realize they're not alone in this journey and that they have options. Share even the smallest goal you'd like to accomplish. We're in this together, and your voice matters more than you know. In closing, here's my multi-layered call to action. If you learned something new today, go ahead and like this video. If you feel a friend or family member could benefit, share it with them. If you want to keep up with more insights on living a fuller, healthier life in your senior years, subscribe and turn on notifications. Each layer of engagement helps both you and this community grow stronger and more informed. You have the power to make simple yet profound changes in your life. At 79, I decided I wasn't ready to slow down just yet, and neither should you. These years can be some of the most rewarding of your life, filled with discovery, new experiences, and a deeper appreciation for every sunrise you're blessed to see. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I look forward to hearing your stories of transformation. There's a whole world still waiting for you. Go out there and claim it.